I'm joined now by my guest, who is an international trade consultant in the person of Bamidele Ayemibo. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let us start off with, the newest developments regarding the AfCFTA. I mean, it took Nigeria 5 years to finally export its first shipment to some nations, talking about countries such as Cameroon, Egypt, Algeria, Uganda, and Kenya. I mean, 5 years down the line, but let's hear from you now. How significant is this first shipment from Nigeria?
It's very significant. It's a sign that Nigeria has been able to convince some skeptics that AfCFTA signed by Nigeria is not a myth, and the fact that we can make it happen. It's a guided trade initiative initiated by the Secretariat of AfCFTA in Ghana. A number of countries have started over a year ago, but we are coming behind. But it's better late than never. So for me, I'm optimistic. It's a good initiative. It's a good development. It's a sign that the government is committed to making this work. And we're happy that this has finally happened.
I mean, it's like you rightly stated, it's a good development that it's happening late. I mean, better late than never. But can you elaborate, especially for the benefit of the viewers now that are watching, the benefits of the AfCFTA and what Nigeria tends to gain? I mean, Nigeria always, people in the trade sector always would say that Nigeria has the market and just might, be the losers in these agreements. But let's hear from you. What are the gains that Nigeria stands to get from this agreement?
The objective of the regional trade agreement, like AfCFTA, basically is to create opportunities for economy to grow. When this was being signed, the main objective, according to the AU, when this was being conceived, was to create a single market in Africa for goods and services, to allow free movement of business person and investment, to expand intra-African trade across regional economic community, because there has been regional economic community in the East Africa, Southern Africa, Central Africa, West Africa before. Now we are having integration of this regional economic community, and to also enhance competitiveness, because we now expect to see intra-continental value chain that will make each location or region to specialize in a particular area and work together to be able to reduce poverty, reduce inequality, and of course reduce hunger on the continent by the creation of jobs that we hope to begin to see as a result of this agreement being signed.
Well said. I have been speaking with Bamidele Ayemibo, who is an international trade and business consultant. But let's go on a short break. When we return, the conversation continues. To stay. And you're still watching Business Daily, coming to you live on Trust TV. And just before the break, we started a conversation on the first shipment for Nigeria under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. I mean, coming 5 years down the line after the ratification of these agreements by Nigeria. And this has been done under the Guided Trade Initiative, that is the GTI. And I still have my guest with me, who is an international trade consultant, Bamidele Ayemibo. Thank you again for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, I would like for you to break down or explain to us what, the Guided Trade Initiative is and how this does fit into the broader picture, the broader framework around the AfCFTA. Are these two separate agreements, or do they work hand in hand?
Okay, so thank you very much. That's a very, very important question. Now, the first thing is there was an African Continental Free Trade Agreement that created an African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, this agreement that created this free trade area, what it has done is to enable Africa to trade together duty-free on the African continent. But because in the wisdom, which is commendable, of the AfCFTA Secretariat in Ghana, they needed to test and see this agreement. Can we do some trial shipment to be able to see if this agreement really is going to be able to work easily in tandem with the laws of other countries and regulation of other countries in Africa, can we begin to do some trial shipment? In fact, the objective, there are three objectives of the guided initiative. Number one is to test the operational, institutional, and legal and trade policy environment. So they want to test how operational is this particular agreement vis-a-vis the policy, trade policy, and environment in which it's supposed to operate. Number two is to allow commercially meaningful trading to begin to start under AfCFTA, and then to be able to send a positive message to African economic operators, to media, and to businessmen that AfCFTA trading has started, and indeed is an agreement that I come to say and that it can work. So it's a trial of the agreement on different countries on the continent to be able to ascertain that and demonstrate to the business community in Africa that this agreement can work, and be able to also identify the issues and some areas that need improvement, correction, so that they can begin to put all that in, so that when more people come in and more people are coming to trade under AfCFTA, most of the teething problem will have been addressed, and then it can become a lot easier for people to trade under the agreement.
At the launch of the first shipment, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was very vocal about Nigeria leveraging on this agreement, and how the Nigerian business environment needed to be worked on to ensure it was attractive and favorable. So I'd like for us to speak on what specific measures you will recommend should be taken to ensure that Nigeria is able to leverage the comparative advantages that the AfCFTA presents to the country.
There's so many things that need to be done. We have had ETLS in the past. That's Equal Trade Liberalization Scheme. It's 30-year-old, but quite frankly, we have not maximally benefited from that agreement because some businesses don't even know such agreement exists. Many people don't even know such agreement exists, and that's a challenge in Africa. It's like having, someone the other time asked me, AGOA, African Growth Opportunity Act, a law of the United States that enable Africans to be able to benefit from the US market and take advantage of that market. And he's saying, what has happened? Why has Nigeria not been able to take advantage of it or maximize it? And I made an analogy, and I said, it's like giving a turkey, a very well garnished turkey lap, to a child, 1 year old, without teeth to eat. He could have enjoyed a lot of nutrient and benefit and protein from that meat, but he can't take advantage of it because it doesn't have what it takes. That's exactly the situation I foresee. That we need to begin to ask ourselves important question. What went wrong with ETLS? Why was ETLS not maximized? What can we do differently? I did a study on ETLS, and I realized that, like many other agreements around the world, one of the major reasons why it didn't succeed is the challenge of information. Information availability for the business community, which is why the media must be commended for having this conversation, but it should be a continuous thing. The way during election, the front runner in the election are known. The 2 or 3 major contenders in the election. That's exactly what we need to do to make enough noise, create a lot of awareness for people to be aware. Now, when people are aware of this agreement, then they can begin to go and seek information. They need a lot of information about this agreement. For example, they need to know, what is the program all about? What are the products that can be traded under this agreement? How do I profit from this agreement? How do I promote my product in the export market? Who are the purchasers? What are the protocols to be followed? What are the rules of origin that I need to ensure I follow to be able to get my certificate of origin and trade duty-free under this agreement? What are the paperwork involved? And how does Nigerian business to be ready? These are a lot of questions that need to be answered if we are going to be able to take advantage of this agreement.
Very, very, very valid questions there, Mr. Bamidele. But I'd like for us to touch on, I should call them, this set of people, the backbone of the Nigerian economy, that is the MSMEs, that have over time contributed largely to Nigeria's GDP, despite operating in an environment that is not the most encouraging when it comes to, ease of doing business around here. So let's talk to MSMEs now. You have emphasized on the importance of knowledge. So it's a good thing we're having conversations like this today. But beyond the information that the media puts out there, how then can, MSMEs really position themselves to benefit from this program? That is the agreement, rather, that is the AfCFTA.
Having created awareness, and then the MSME are aware and don't take advantage of it, then from the Ministry of Trade to the Ministry, to Nigeria Promotion Council, to the Coordinating Office of AfCFTA, there is need for capacity building. The MSME need to develop themselves. They need to be export ready. And the government to support in this regard. The reason why Nigerian exporters, a number of people come in, they operate for 1 or 2 years and they pull out. Even though some people have been in that sector for many years, some have not been able to operate for more than a year or two because of the challenge of readiness. Let me define export readiness. Export readiness is a multifaceted concept that involves the ability of a business to successfully enter the export market, sustainably compete in the export market, and significantly grow its market share until it becomes established in the market. This is a very, very, very important point. Until it becomes established in the market. If we don't do that, if they don't become very much ready, they will start and stop because of 1 or 2 issues or challenges that will crop up, because the issue of readiness comes in form of delays, in form of discrepancy in document, in form of demurrage, and sometimes in form of debt and losses. And this can be a discouraging factor for people. So what I would recommend for any SME that want to get the partake in this is to first of all understand what this agreement is all about. Check their product to be seen. Is my product eligible for free access to the market? Because not every manufacturer in Nigeria will be able to take advantage of this market. If majority of your raw material is imported, you will not be able to partake in AfCFTA. You need to be sourcing your raw material from African continent largely for you to be able to partake, because what is the use of this agreement if we have to be creating jobs in other parts of the world? You need to be processing here. You need to be adding value here to a reasonable level. You need to be processing substantially. You need to be sourcing your raw material fully from Africa or any country that have ratified in Africa for you to be deemed originating product on the African continent. And that will require a lot of understanding on the part of the SME, capacity be on the part of the SME, and readiness on the part of the SME.
Well said. I mean, it's very important that, like you rightly stated, MSMEs actually do their research to understand the demands of this agreement. But you have also, stated something, and that is Nigeria's position in this entire, agreement. It's not news that Nigeria usually is looked at as the big brother in quote. But then there are concerns around, Nigeria eventually becoming some sort of a dumping ground for other nations, since Nigeria has the population, has the market access, has the numbers. But let's hear from you. Do you share in, these concerns that have been re-echoed over and over again?
If we say Nigeria is big brother in Africa, we need to check and ask important questions. On what basis? On the base of population, yes. On the base of economic growth, GDP, no. Because now we are number 2nd or 3rd because of what is happening within our economy. I think that we have what it takes. I don't have any doubt in my mind we have what it takes. We just need to be very much serious about ensuring that we make this thing work. Because if it works for Nigeria and works for Africa, it benefits everyone. And this is where we will have to put this challenge on the feet of the Coordinating Office of AfCFTA. Awolowo have done a lot very well when he was in Export Promotion Council. We are starting to bring all that experience into Coordinating Office to be able to do a lot more in this space. But there's a lot of work to be done. The interesting thing is that Africa imports so much product from outside of Africa. And Nigeria, interestingly, in our firm, we have been able to identify at least 90 plus products that Nigeria is producing, can produce, that is currently being imported into Africa. And unfortunately, Nigeria is already exporting some of these products to even West Africa under ETLF. So what that basically means is that we now need to extend it. I mean, if you check the report based on what was exported recently under this guided trade to Cameroon, to Kenya, to Algeria, to Uganda, and to Egypt. We have the like of bags, ceramic, textile, cables, even smart card, clinker for cement, black soap, native starch, and shea butter. These are different products. And you notice something about all these products. They are all finished product or intermediate product. And this is a very important point. If we are going to be successful in Africa under AfCFTA, we will not be doing cocoa, we will not be doing cashew, we will not be doing sesame seed, we will not be doing gum arabic, we will not be doing agro commodity, because as terrible as our economy is, we are still better than many economies in terms of productive capacity in Africa. Meaning we can't export raw materials to them because they can't process it. We need to export value-added manufactured goods. Either we focus on intermediate product like shea butter, like native starch, like clinker, or we focus on finished goods like ceramic, like black soap. We must focus on intermediate product or finished goods to be able to maximize it. So I believe we can still be that big brother as far as trade is concerned. Currently, in terms of trade, South Africa is the big brother.
You seem to emphasize on how Nigeria, has lost its position as big brother. But I will like to hear, the ripple effects this will have beyond Nigeria to other African nations. If Nigeria does successfully leverage on the AfCFTA, will there be some sort of ripple effects that we should expect, maybe within the West African bloc and beyond?
Yes, because what I foresee is a lot of importers in Nigeria might need to rework their supply chain to begin to source their raw material from inside Africa in order to be able to take advantage of AfCFTA. So a manufacturer, for example, who imports a lot of wheat from outside of Africa might need to begin to find where to import wheat from Africa. Now, if he begins to do that, he might need to go and set up an operation in an African country to be able to support the country or the people he's working with in that country to be able to produce to the standard, the level, and the volume he needs. Because that will make him to bring in that wheat into Nigeria duty-free. So I foresee a situation in which the growth in Nigeria or the demand and increase in export from Nigeria is having a lot of effect in terms of job creation and sourcing of raw material from other West African, Central Africa, or East African economy, if we are able to make that happen.
When I look at the countries that the first shipment have been sent to, countries like Cameroon, Kenya, Algeria, Uganda, and Egypt, I just wondered to myself, what were the reasons behind the choice of these countries? I can see countries from Southern Africa, Eastern, Northern Africa as well. But let us hear from you, from your own point of view. What would you say what's the reason behind the choice of these nations?
I was not part of people that decided, but I can make a guess. I can see Central African Cameroon. I can see Eastern Africa or East Africa, Kenya or Uganda. I can see Southern Africa, Algeria, and I can see North Africa, Egypt. I think that is strategic to be able to test shipment to different regions in Africa. I noticed there's no West Africa because we're already doing a lot in West Africa. So adding West Africa will not be intelligent for me. We've seen North Africa represented, East Africa represented, Central Africa represented, and Southern Africa represented. I think that is deliberate to, number one, ensure that, okay, can we solve the problem of shipping to this region, the logistics, the documentation, and do a trial and see the possibility of shipping to different regions of Africa. I think that is the reason why these countries have been chosen. And interestingly, all of them have products that Nigeria is producing or manufacturing that they can buy. And we have seen in the list provided by the Coordinating Office of AfCFTA.
Well said, Mr. Ayemibo. But I will like for us to touch on the policy and regulation aspect, looking at whether or not Nigeria needs to engage in some sort of reforms. For instance, looking at the Standards Organization of Nigeria, are we, up to par in the area of, checking to ensure that these products are up to standard? But let's hear from you now. What sort of policy changes or policy direction are you recommending at this point, towards ensuring that we really get and enjoy the benefits of the AfCFTA?
If you talk about policy, we definitely overshoot our time. There's so many recommendations on policy issues. Policy around the port clearance, policy around the paperwork, policy around promotion of Nigerian product under AfCFTA, policy around preparation, policy around partnership within the continent, partnership in the country within the continent, policy around protection of Nigerian businesses in the export market, policy around boosting production capacity in Africa, Nigeria, policy around our price in enhancing Nigerian competitiveness on the African continent, policy around, different areas, even proficiency, capacity building. So there are different areas. Now, let me narrow down on the one on product, which you mentioned around NAFDAC. NAFDAC is doing a lot in that space right now, and their effort must be commendable. But what I want to recommend for NAFDAC is, while NAFDAC is trying to help to grow, to solve the problem on one hand, they should also do it in a way that doesn't create problem on the other hand. I think on what NAFDAC is doing right now, can they focus first on the area that has to do with products that have a lot of rejection? We currently have products that have a lot of rejection issues. Some products do not have, as far as the list that NAFDAC provided to the public, some products don't have rejection yet. And I think, can we solve the problem of those products, focus on it, and ensure producers of those products are able to do the necessary correction to ensure we don't have rejection again, and then gradually move to other products so that they can cover everybody, because they are not set up to be able to handle export across board, because their labs are not in every state of the federation where export is being done. We might begin to see a lot of delay in the process of export because they do not have all the infrastructure required to be able to take on and support the export business as a whole. But what they are doing right now is commendable. But in terms of policy, we need reform in different areas of export in Nigeria if we are going to be able to grow the number of exporters, because currently in Nigeria, the number of exporters in Nigeria is less than 1,005. Less than 1,005. We have over 30, probably 40 or 50,000 importers, but less than 1,500 exporters. Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa have thousands of exporters. And that explains the reason why, comparatively, they are doing a lot better than us in terms of export volume.
Mr. Bamidele, you actually highlighted, certain products that you have stated have constantly been rejected in the export market. Can you throw more light on what these products are?
Now, recently, NAFDAC did something. NAFDAC is the company that typically receive the alert when Nigerian products have problems overseas. So they, and according to them, based on their mandate, the mandate that set them up, they are supposed to be, not just because they focus most of the time on value-added goods. And they are now saying, look, their mandate go beyond value-added goods to commodities, raw commodities that value has not been added to. Now, so because of that, what NAFDAC is now doing is to check and ensure that product leaving Nigeria, either as long as it's food, either commodity or agro product, are reviewed, assessed, analyzed, and report issued for it to be allowed. Now, the highlighted product like sesame seed, it has the largest. NAFDAC talked about the last 10 years, 2040, 2023, sesame seed have about 186 rejection, averagely 180 rejection per year, followed by dry beans. You are aware that our dry beans have pesticide issue, and of course we have the rejection from EU. Then we have melon on that list, we have groundnut on that list, we have ginger on that list, we have smoked fish on that list, but we don't have cocoa on that list. We don't have a number of manufactured value-added goods on that list. And that's why I'm saying that, can we focus on these products that are having a lot of issue, from ogbono to bushmeat to peanut to grinded pepper to palm oil to catfish to ginger to groundnut to sesame seed? Can we focus on that and ensure people exporting those things get it right? And then we gradually move on to other products so that they can cover every product, of course, and ensure no rejection again happen in Nigeria from the export market.
Well said. And just before we go, in 1 minute, what are your predictions for the Nigeria's trade space, say in the next 5 years, provided the agreement under the AfCFTA, continues in the next 5 years and is sustainable enough?
I foresee a situation in which we increase our volume from about 10 to 12% right now we ship to Africa to a significant volume, probably 20 or 30% of Nigerian trade. Currently, about 60, 70 to 80% of manufactured goods of Nigeria actually go to Africa because, they buy more manufactured goods from us than the European. I foresee a situation in which we have a lot of increase in that. And the implication of increased manufactured goods export from Nigeria to Africa is the fact that we are going to begin to see increase in job creation and, of course, poverty eradication in Africa. But then, if we are going to see that happen, government need to really, really support manufacturers by giving them incentive that reduce their cost of doing business so we can stay competitive in the export market.
Oh, well said, Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo, who is an international trade consultant, and he has spoken extensively to Nigeria's recent development in the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, that it is exporting of its first shipment after 4 years. Thank you for all the insights you shared today on the program.
Thank you very much for having me, and bye-bye.
This is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of the program Business Daily, coming to you live on Trust TV. And what an insightful conversation we did have, talking about, the first shipment leaving Nigeria to certain nations such as Cameroon, Kenya, Algeria, Uganda, and Egypt. And I'd just like to point out that the AfCFTA, that is the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, allows for countries to export and import without duties or reduced duties, payment of duties and taxes. And this has been, received with, more positives than negatives, I should say, by key players in the trade sector. But join the conversation on social media and let us hear from you. What are your thoughts? Engage with us, and we will definitely be responding to your tweets and comment. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.